Welcome everyone. Today I want to talk about a topic that I'm sure a lot of Nikon users can relate with in regards to different systems that's available to us as being a Nikon consumer. First off, they've done an excellent job with their full frame lineup. I can't say enough good things about what they've done over the last few years. So I just want to get that out of the way that I really do like what they've done with the full frame system. Then there's the ladder, and I'm sure a lot of you know where I'm getting at here when I mention the ladder in regards to Nikon, and that is the APS-C category of Nikon. Yes, they've done some things that have improved the usability of the system as of recently. They just recently added a 16 to 50 2.8, and that is especially important because it has VR included, and the APS-C cameras in the ecosystem are all without stabilization. So that is actually pretty important that they have a nice stabilized lens that adds a lot more usability at the 16 to 50 range. Then to have it at 2.8 is great. And now they added as well a 35mm 1.7, which is roughly 50 millimeters. So that's also a very popular lens, and I'm sure it is great. But I find the cameras that they've released just don't really have an appeal like a lot of the other major manufacturers in this day and age. It really is lacking the amount of depth in specs compared to cameras like Fuji, Canon, or Sony. Like when you look at the Z52 and then you compare that with Sony's 6700, it really feels like you're using old age technology when you're looking at the Nikon camera. And that's in particularly because of the sensor that they're using. They're using a sensor from 2019, and this is really a dated sensor, and that is the most modern sensor that is recently released in the Nikon APS-C universe. That's something to definitely keep in mind, and I think a lot of people are probably swayed away from not only the lack of lenses they have in the system, but also just the old technology that they're using. With their full frame counterparts, you can just tell that they're really making an effort to be a solid competitor compared to just releasing the bare minimum on the other side. With the full frame, you have the acquisition of reds. So you have the ZR, which is a really exciting camera. It's really bringing people into the ecosystem. Who has came to the Nikon Z platform just for the APS-C mount? I mean, is there anyone that's actually came over to the system that wasn't already a Nikon shooter? Considering what cameras to shoot with, I obviously love my Z6 III. It's the best camera I've ever had and owned. I love it to death, and I don't see myself using another camera as my main camera anytime soon. There are some issues though when I want to pack really light or I don't want to bring my work camera with me, and that is that, like, oftentimes I want something just really nice and small and portable. It does it for me in a sense, but it obviously could shave off a few grams and I'd be much happier off, which is why I bought this XM5. And this Fuji XM5 is what's recording me now, and I've enjoyed using this. I use this for live streaming. I like most of the things that this camera has to offer. I think the functionality in their menu system is not nearly as good as Nikon, although Nikon is still an absolute mess if you want to find some of those really fine-tuned options. And obviously the autofocus is much worse for this Fuji, right? But if you're tracking yourself for something like this, I think I've probably been in focus most of the video, at least 90% of it. And now the Z52 has the improved autofocus, so it should be somewhat similar with the processor in it as my Nikon Z6 III. So that's great. You got good autofocus, but what really is bringing you away from Sony and Fuji. I don't know. It's a really tough one. I want to commend Nikon for releasing their full frame line, but if it was only that, I'd really be wondering what in the hell have they been doing over the last few years if I was just looking at the APS-C line itself, right? For me, I'm not so bothered by the fact that they don't have many lenses available, just based on the fact that I can use my full frame lenses and I have adapters if I want to use something a little smaller. And with my recent acquisition of 26mm 2.8, this doesn't get much smaller than that. I'd be really welcome to trying out a Nikon APS-C camera if they had something that was just good enough to sway me away from this XM5. But it's not there in the market currently. So let me know, what do you think about Nikon's APS-C lineup? Does it actually have something in their system that is appealing to you? With the new addition to the system having N-Log now added into it, 10-bit color, is that going to sway you at all in purchasing the camera? Was that enough for you to buy it? I think for a lot of people, just having 10-bit was probably all that you were looking for, and that's probably going to be good enough, and I'm sure Nikon knows that. Obviously, looking at the different cameras in the market, you're going to spend a lot more if you want to pick up the Sony a6700, and that comes with basically everything. You have awesome autofocus, you have stabilization, really nice lightweight form factor. Obviously, that's a pretty enticing setup, but you're spending full frame money at that point, so something to keep in mind. One thing that I found a little interesting is that as I had wrote this script for this video, I was preparing to shoot this over the next few days, and I ended up seeing that Nikon had actually released those two newest APS-C lenses, and that I found really interesting, considering the timing and how desperately the system needed those two the zoom lens and the prime. I found that was pretty interesting. Maybe if you just wish upon it and you keep the APS-C mount in your thoughts, maybe that it will be improved a little bit. So hopefully this video is not for nothing and we see some changes that are overwhelmingly needed at this point and will make the system a lot more usable and also lure in a lot more people into the Nikon universe. Nice to walk out here with the two dogs, but my hands are starting to get quite cold with it now moving into fall, as you can obviously see. Anyways, that is all for the video today. I just wanted to have a little conversation about my favorite camera brand currently, and that is Nikon. They've just really done such a great job. I'd love to see it move over into the APS-C category. I have a feeling though that they are looking at that system as more of a amateur, like beginner sort of platform compared to their full frame camera. It seems like they're definitely putting a lot more resources into making sure that is the dialed in system. Nikon is definitely known to be used pretty big amount by professionals, so that makes sense, but I'd love to see a little more depth in the APS-C line. All right, well, that about does it for me today. I think we've covered about all we could really cover in this video in regards to what Nikon is missing. So honestly, not a lot, just a few better APS-C cameras and maybe a few more lenses, and they have the market pretty well cornered in regards to market share. Especially with the ZR, they've had a lot of new customers as of recent. Anyways, thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.